All right, today we're getting into it. Ramirez here, Tidewater Renaissance Fighting Arts, and today we're going to debunk a debunk. So, I've been watching videos, other HEMA channels, and one of the things that always leaves me a little bit off is when someone goes, hey, Mordschlag doesn't really work. I've proved it. I've grabbed my HEMA fetter and I hit somebody or I hit my hand with it and I proved it doesn't work. Well, not for nothing, buddies, guys out there. This is a HEMA fetter. It's thin. It's sport optimized. It's also optimized for cutting. It's very flexible and bendy. This isn't what you do Mordschlag with. It's what you do Mordschlag with if you're going to disprove that Mordschlag works, because it's like going, hey, I can disprove that getting hit in the head works. Let me grab some feathers and drop them in my head. They hit me in the head. Didn't do anything. So obviously getting hit with something doesn't work. Now, this is Harnisch-Fechten's sword. It's way thicker. Doesn't flex. Certainly nowhere near as much. It's not sport optimized for Blossfechten. It would be very, very slow. Yet you would not want to get hit with this at your local HEMA tournament, because it's not designed that way. It might be slow, but it'll break a mask. You see the guard? Once again, these are meant to hit a helmet with. They have the sturdiness. That's why you have metal at the end here, so you don't wear out the leather part. And this is way heavier a pommel than what you would see on a tournament fetter. Yet the videos I watch, no one's hitting anyone with the right weapon. So, if you want to go with Mordschlag and be like, okay, it didn't affect you, you should be hitting with the correct weapon. And this is one of the misconceptions, I think, largely about Harnisch-Fechten. In the 14th century and 15th century, they, at the optimal time they did harness tournament fighting, they had weapons specifically for harness fighting. I'm going to get back to that in just a second. I needed a few more props. This is my Alexandria sword. This is the pommel for my Alexandria sword. Alexandria sword is a fantastic cutting sword. It's very, very thin. When it gets down to the point, wide, makes an excellent, excellent cutting sword. Really nice for cutting tournaments. This is basically the Alexandria's kind of in the same category as the Principe, a very popular sword when it comes to cutting tournaments. And if you were doing unarmored fighting, it would probably be a fantastic sword to fight with, because it would have that cutting capacity. Now, let's compare that to the Easton Royal Armory's 14th century harness sword. Here's the pommel there. Notice something different? On most of your other pommels, this little center point is recessed in. This is pushed out. This has a lot more mass than any of the pommels that I've shown up to this point. And when I show this sword to people who do a lot of HEMA, they're like, this doesn't balance right. Right. It doesn't balance right for Blossfechten, for cutting tournaments. It's not meant to cut. If I take this out, you'll notice it's probably a lot shorter than some of the other swords, especially HEMA fetters. And guess what? Center of it's not even that sharp. Why? Because I'm going to grab it. I'm going to be doing half sorting with it. It's not a wide cutting blade, it's quite thick, and if we turn it to the end, you can see that's really not meant for cutting. It's way too wide, but it's plenty stiff because it's meant to thrust at people. Harness swords like this historical reproduction were meant for thrusting, not really for cutting. It's a tournament weapon. Take a look at that pommel again. Let's take a look at it in comparison. Here's the Alexandria, and here is the tournament fetter. You'll notice some big differences there in mass. Excuse me for a moment, I gotta grab another tool. How much mass does it take? Well, we would agree that a poleaxe is sufficient, right? This is the Arms and Armor poleaxe. Specifically, it's their Burgundian. It's not the knightly poleaxe. But it's actually quite small. If I put my hand here, you can see that is not that big. It's not even that heavy a mass. It's certainly comparable to that really heavy, really thick pommel that we talked about. This is way wider. It's not as long, but it's way wider than its poleaxe equivalent. A lot of physical mass. And that's what's relevant when you're doing something like Mordschlag. Okay, put this down very carefully. So, what I don't get when someone's doing a debunking, oh, Mordschlag isn't really effective. They're not using the right tools. Of course it's not effective. So what I want to leave you with and what I want you to think about is that the weapons that you would do and the weapons in the manuals that would talk about Mordschlag wouldn't be using modern day HEMA fetters to do the job. They would be using the equivalency for harness, a suitable harness sword to do those techniques. And when you apply that, that should make a big difference. So basically, I'd really like to go to all those debunking Mordschlag doesn't work and be like Ozzy Osbourne in the movie Little Nicky. And I'd just like to go to those people and go, here, hit them with this. Because it would make a big difference in the results when someone says, okay, they get hit with a fetter and they're like, yeah, that didn't hurt. Well, no shit, that pommel is balanced for speed and efficiency in an unarmored tournament. And there's nothing wrong with that, but wrong tool for the wrong job. If you want to debunk whether or not Mordschlag works, you need to start with the right tool for the right job. You know, if you want to say, okay, this wouldn't hurt at all, yeah, even if you don't use the Easton, because that is alive, you could just as easily use the official Purple Heart Harness Fectin sword. You're going to hit someone with the ends. These are rounded, weighted. They're designed to hit someone with. That pommel is designed to have the strength. This blade is designed to have the thickness to hit someone. And then you'd have a better sense of, wow, that would hurt. But I would suspect that those people who like to debunk Mordschlag would be like, yeah, you're not hitting me with this. Because I don't like that idea. Why? Because it would work. That's why. Why not get hit with that pommel? Well, no, keep my hands out of this. Why? Because this would work. So, if you're going to debunk Mordschlag and say, well, I took a hit with a competition fetter for Blossfectin and it didn't affect me, then I think that, you're a little bit of a scam artist because you're not really using the proper tools and making that argument. So that's my counter argument for debunking Mordschlag. And it's my last, kind of rude thing to do at the end of the year, but I do feel like a lot of these videos that have come out, they have not done a good job. And I just feel like that does need to be called out because, once again, we were talking about this on the harness fecting group when two certain younger fencers who you probably all know did a video on debunking Mordschlag, and I said we're subject matter experts, probably more so than they are when it comes to specifically harness, and it's not necessarily their fault. Your fault as a viewer if you're just kind of watching them. You don't know a lot about harness. You might go and say, well, that proves it. But as a subject matter expert, I want to talk a little bit more about the realities of some of these weapons and what should be used, so that you can kind of see where the disconnect, where the scam kind of comes in, is that they aren't using the right weapons to assess the effectiveness of Mordschlag. If they were, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But since they're not, and they're going to an even less educated audience online, I felt like this was kind of important to bring up, that this is not the same weapons, and it's not the weapons that they should be using in these tests. If you want to say, undisputably, Mordschlag doesn't really work. So that's my thought. That's my video. Once again, Ramirez, Tidewater Renaissance Fighting Arts, South Norfolk, Virginia. Love to see you. If you're interested in harness, join our group. We do have a harness fecting group that does meet monthly as part of our club programs. So once again, if you have other questions about harness, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I will see you in the next video.